I know many of you saw the fog this morning, and I hope to lift a little bit of fog from your eye today. Thanks for being here, and I promise with Donnie starting, with me, and then when Mitch finishes, you will be glad that you spent your Saturday morning here. It will be beneficial. I'm going to be looking at 4 basics, simple things you can do to reduce your risk not only for cancer, but also for many other chronic diseases facing Americans today. My journey began when the doctor said the words nobody wants to hear, "You have cancer." Does anybody want to hear that? No. It was a shock. It was 4 months after my sister and I had nursed my mother with cancer and she had died. So 4 months later, I get the news she had gotten the year before. Then the second shock came the next week when I get the call, it's worse than we thought. It's aggressive. I'm like, what? And then the next week, Alton drops me off at the surgeon's office in downtown Greenville. He's going to give me the results of the MRI, and I just know they're going to be okay and not any worse than we've been told, so I'm not concerned about it. And I'm alone when he tells me it's worse than we thought. And I said, really? I said, I don't believe you. So I said, I want you to show me that MRI. I'm going to have to see it to believe it. So I got what I asked for. He took me in his office. He flashed it up on this life-size screen on the wall. And he goes, see, it's there. It's in your lymph nodes. It's everywhere. I'm like, what? Thank goodness for second opinions. I will tell you this, when you have a serious medical condition, always get a second, even a third opinion. But the doctor gave me bad news that sent me to my knees that day. And I'll be honest with you, it didn't make sense. The doctor sat down with me in Chicago where I got my second opinion. They went over the risk factors. I didn't have one of the 7, not even one. So they immediately did genetic testing. Nothing. So we're sitting there knocking our heads together, and I said, I'm not going to stop until I found out why I got an aggressive and deadly cancer. I began to look deeper. And one of the things I did not know was the rates of cancer in this country. I had absolutely no idea. Back in 1930, your chances of getting some type of form of cancer in your lifetime were 1 in 20. In 1970, it went up to 1 in 10. And in 1971, President Richard Nixon declared war on cancer with federal funding. Other presidents would do the same. Where has that gotten us? We've gotten better techniques, better diagnostic instruments. We've gotten better treatments targeting specific types of cancer. I'm grateful for that. But no one has done anything to stop the rates of cancer. And in that way, we are not winning the war on cancer. Because today, our generation, it's 1 in 3 for men and 1 in 2 for women and 1 in 8 for women with breast cancer. Today's generation born today, 1 in 2. So we've got our work cut out for us. In the 1990s, I served as a trustee on the International Mission Board of the Southern Baptist Convention. There were 90 men trustees and 10 women. I can only tell you those 10 women were very, very close during those years, and we continued to be close up until this day because I was the 9th of the 10 women to be diagnosed with cancer. We had a reunion at my house in the fall, and we had been joking about this for years. It's our ongoing joke. Our Baptist lifestyle is not working out for us. We always say that maybe it's time we start living on the wild side of life, and maybe we wouldn't have gotten cancer. But the chaplain at the Chicago hospital clearly told me, he said, Ginny, I know you're disappointed because I was known as a health nut. Let me tell you how health nutty I was. I wasn't health nutty enough, but I actually revamped the school lunch program in Oconee County and helped to get health coaches in the schools. Everyone at my school will tell you, Ginny Brandt is the health nut. My lunch was different from everybody else's. I did things differently from everybody else. Yet, I got cancer. But that chaplain told me that day, Ginny, I know it didn't prevent your cancer, but I want you to know, don't give up on your healthy habits. They will get you through the treatments. And he was right. I believe now, from the School of Hard Knocks, that every person should have a cancer prevention plan. 1 in 3,000 people will have a house fire. Do we have a plan for that? We have insurance, we have fire extinguishers, we have an escape route, but we need to do the same thing with cancer. And that begins with the American Cancer Society's recommendations for screenings. I support that. I get all those. However, that doesn't do anything to prevent cancer. That helps you to catch it early, and that's important too. So a cancer prevention plan is made up of lifestyle changes. And Greenville Memorial Hospital has just started a program recently where anyone age 18 and up, this is in your handout, can join their cancer prevention program. This is why Dr. Jeffrey Jagir, that everyone loves at Oconee, the oncologist that's treated so many people, he's leaving that job to head up this program. And this program, what they're doing is research, and if you will be a part of their research program and donate vials of blood every year and a DNA swab from your mouth, they will actually help you develop a cancer prevention plan based on the latest research of what prevents cancer and also tied to your specific medical record. There are a lot of people starting to join this program, and the information's in there if you would like to be a part of it. I was talking to one of the ladies that worked with the program, Julia Yates, and she told me, she said, Ginny, the workshops we've been to all over the country, genetics is basically 10% of what causes cancer. I've seen 5% in research, I've seen 15, everywhere in between. But the point is, they used to say, you know what they used to say? It's nothing you did, it's just happens, okay? Now they're saying the opposite. Maybe 10%, 15% at the most. And here's the deal. Even if you have a genetic tendency for a certain cancer, lifestyle changes might help your body so that you didn't get that cancer. That is a possibility. So lifestyle changes are very, very important. I have to be honest with you. I was told at age 30, after my mother was diagnosed with colon cancer, I had just given birth to 8-pound twins, and I had to take care of her and the 8-pound twins. That doctor sat me down, and he gave me a talking to. He said, your father was diagnosed with colon cancer 2 years ago. Now your mother, we know your medical history. You are high risk, the highest risk in your entire family for this cancer. If you don't do what we tell you to do, in your 40s, you will have the early signs of this, and if you don't do it, we can tell you what will be on your tombstone. I was like, okay. That's when I first started developing a plan not to get colon cancer because it had plagued my family for so many years. We lost a lot of people in terrible ways to colon cancer. I put in a plan. I was very proactive. So far, I'm the only member of my family out of the 6 of us who has not gotten to stage 1. That's how much it runs in our particular family. Can lifestyle changes make a difference? Yes. But this cancer hit me out of the blue. So when 3 experts tell you you're going to die if you do not go through the one thing in life I never wanted, chemotherapy, and it won't be just the normal 4 months. It's going to be a good 18 months of treatments, and it's going to be a long, hard race, as Donnie said, a long, tough, hard race. And if you've ever seen those commercials on TV where there's 10 seconds of the benefit of a drug and 20 seconds of the side effects, and you're going, whoa, chemotherapy is so much worse. I just have to be honest with you. They give you these papers and you turn over sheet after sheet after sheet after sheet of side effects, and the last page says brain damage, lung damage, heart damage, high risk of leukemia, high risk of all these cancers, and then at the end it says including death, and you sign your name at the bottom. I'm just being honest. That's the hardest piece of paper I've ever signed. And when the nurse comes out, dressed up in a hazmat suit from head to toe to administer your chemicals, and you're in that chair, and she's pulling this pole with 4 bags with the skull and crossbone and toxic chemicals written all over it. I mean, it's like Happy Halloween. You know what I mean? And I'm here today because I would really prefer that no one have to be in that chair. And I feel like with what I know today, I might have escaped that if I had been more preventative in other areas. I looked at that nurse and I said, hey, I've got a proposition for you. Wouldn't you rather sit for this 8 hours and I'll stand and put on the hazmat suit? Of course, no nurse ever, I offered it every time and no one ever took me up on that idea. When 3 doctors tell you you've got to have that chemo, it sent me on a quest. Number 1, I wanted to discover, why did I get a deadly and aggressive cancer I had no risk factors and no genetics for? That was number 1. And number 2, there are 4 outcomes to chemo. If the doctors are truly honest with you, it's not a piece of cake. And everybody wants option number 1 because options 2, 3, and 4 can lead to death, disability, chronic pain, and all kinds of other issues. So everybody wants the chemo to work with minimal side effects. And I wanted to find out, what can I do to get option number 1? What can I do to help my doctors get me option number 1? Are we part of the race in fighting disease? Yes, because we're in control of our body and our doctors are not, and we can't put everything on them. And I want you to know, I am grateful I got option number 1, and I am grateful to be here today. I lost many friends in the cancer battle. People were dropping like flies, and I was like, and I'm soaring like an eagle, and I'm going, what is the difference? Sometimes we don't know the difference, but I do believe the difference is in the things that I felt led to do. And today, I'm going to share 4 steps that helped me to get option number 1. It's 4 steps out of 8 steps in my book. My book that will hopefully be out in the next year is now called Unleashing Your God-Given Healing, 8 Steps to Preventing and Beating Cancer. So we're going to look at 4 of those briefly today. First of all, we've got to understand that God gifted us with a miraculous body, a body that was made to self-heal. But when we're running the race of life, as Donnie said, there are certain things we must do to help our body work properly. So key 1 is we must hydrate properly. Simple. You think, why would anyone need to know this? Because we're not, by and large, in America doing this properly. Our body is 2/3, 60 to 70% water. And if you look down at this slide, your lungs are about, I'm just going to take one as an example, your lungs are 83% water. That means if you're not getting enough water intake, your lungs cannot breathe properly. As a matter of fact, if you don't get any, in 3 to 5 days, your whole body, one system at a time, will shut down. You can go 5 to 7 weeks without water, but only without food, but only 3 to 5 days without water. Proper hydration benefits every system and every cell in your body. How many of you have been to a doctor and you have kidney stones or you have a bladder infection? What does your doctor say? Drink more water. You have, let's go down to the immune and the lymphatic system. Your immune system is down. Drink more water. Your immune system cannot work properly with all the things it needs to do without enough water. Look down to your nervous system. Your nervous system in your brain cannot think properly, work correctly without enough water. Now, I'm a big follower of Dr. Joel Sussman. He was head of pediatrics at the Columbia Medical School for many years. He used to be a neighbor of mine in Columbia. And when guidance counselors and doctors were being bombarded, as they still are today, with parents coming to them saying, I need medication for my child, please fill out the paperwork, and to the doctor, give me a prescription, because my child can't pay attention. Dr. Sussman said, time out. I will not pull out that prescription pad until you've proven to me that your child is doing the next four things properly. And guess what the first one on his list was? Proper hydration. And the next three are the next three things we're going to talk about. What is proper hydration? It's your body weight in general divided by 2 in fluid ounces. So if you weigh 150 pounds, that would be 75 ounces of water a day, and that's a bare minimum. If it's hot, drink more. Higher altitude, drink more. You just exercised, drink more, okay? If you feel a cold or the flu or asthma attack or a headache coming on, drink more. Some people are drinking up to 1 gallon of water a day, meaning you never pass by a restroom without stopping, right? Now let's look at what counts as hydration. Of course, water counts. That's plain. Milk counts, but you know, milk's hard to digest. You don't want to drink milk all day long. 100% juices count, but not for someone like me that has to watch those blood sugar levels. But 100% juice does count. Fruit-infused water. And what do we have back at the table back there? When you add a dash of lemon or lime or orange to water, it makes the water more hydrating, okay? Then healthy smoothies. I don't mean the junk smoothies you get some places where there's high sugar and high fructose corn syrup, and I'm talking about the real deal with all the healthy stuff. I have learned to make a banana chocolate smoothie that covers a multitude of things you would not normally want to eat. So you can get 6, 7 superfoods in a smoothie, and it tastes great. Eating fruits and vegetables can provide up to 30% of your hydration. Arugula, which is a leaf used in salads, 90% water. Watermelon is 95% water. That makes sense, doesn't it? But here's where we miss the boat, folks. What does not count as water? Any caffeinated drink, soda, tea, coffee does not count. It causes more water to come out of your system. And then beer and wine are both diuretics. So if you wanted to have a cup of coffee in the morning or two, and there are some beneficial things that have to go along with coffee, which is wonderful, but you got to drink more water to make up for what you just did. And if you wanted a glass of wine with your dinner on Saturday night, you would want to add water because of what that did. Does that make sense? Most Americans are dehydrated. They're not properly hydrated. As a matter of fact, water is so important. Jesus used it in the Bible to show our spiritual need of Him. Did He not? We cannot make it in this life. We cannot be spiritually dehydrated. We need Him. And the same way, our body thrives off of water. All right, step 2. We must have deep, restorative sleep. According to Dr. Don Colbert, sleep does the following things for our body. It regulates important growth hormones. I love this next one. It slows the aging process. Anybody here? Give me a hand on that one. Yes, we all are all in on that one. It improves brain function. Give me another yes. We're in on that one. It reduces cortisol and stress levels. Yes. And then Russell Foster, head of the British Sleep Institute. I got to study under him, a great guy. Did you know our body actually repairs itself and our DNA when we sleep? Wow. Part, again, of how God made our body to be self-healing. Our body, when we sleep, it rids itself of protein-causing dementia. You're looking at a gal who helped take care of her father with Alzheimer's disease for 8 to 9 years. A part of my life I would never want to go through again, and I don't want to see anybody else in my family, and I certainly don't want to go down that road. It's a tough, tough road. Sleep also rebuilds our metabolism and energy reserves, and it removes waste while we're sleeping. Our entire body detoxes itself from the toxins that have built up during the day when we sleep. Now, we know that when someone has short-term sleep deprivation, they kind of act like someone who's had too much to drink, to be perfectly honest. It's the same symptoms. However, Dr. Russell Foster says, and this really hit me, long-term sleep deprivation can lead to a suppressed immune system, which opens the door to cancer and many other chronic diseases. That caretaking my husband and I did for 15 years with all 4 parents on top of a full-time job certainly caught up with me. Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, said this: the more sleep-deprived you are, the more cancer cells multiply. And Dr. Bruce said this: sleep affects every organ system and every disease state in the body, just like proper hydration. Research at Michigan State University said that melatonin appears to suppress the growth of breast cancer tumors. Melatonin is part of our self-healing mechanism God has given us, but it only goes off when you sleep and sleep properly. Research in Science Nordic said this: melatonin reduces the side effects of chemotherapy and may be effective in eliminating cancer cells. My doctors told me in Chicago, if I did not get proper sleep with all they were going to do to my body, I would not be able to recuperate from the treatments alone, much less the cancer. Sleep had to be a priority. Dr. Daniel Amen, a famous psychiatrist, says this: our brain washes and cleans itself while we are sleeping. How many of you need a brain wash? All of us. One thing I taught every student at my school, because I taught them all about health, is that our bodies are like batteries. We recharge when we sleep. So go home and plug in tonight, right? All right, step number 3, or key number 3. Yes, we need hydration. Yes, we need adequate sleep at night. But our bodies were made to move during the day. The Apostle Paul didn't have to worry about getting this movement in. In the day in which he lived, he probably walked 12 to 15 miles in a day, maybe 30 some days. His body was moving. Because of modern inventions, we have to set aside that time to move because it's just, we have an easier society to live in as far as that goes. Dr. Lee Aaron Keneally, a well-known Los Angeles medical doctor, wrote a book about how to prevent cancer, and she gave the following ways that exercise can help a cancer patient. But I want you to look closely at these because most of you are not cancer patients. If it does this for a cancer patient, what's it going to do for you? It's going to help you prevent cancer. She said, it boosts the immune system. The research is clear what happens when you exercise. It stimulates your lymphatic system. I didn't know a lot of this until, they said you have cancer. Your lymphatic system is the only system in your body that does not work autonomously. It only works when you move, and its job is to take out the trash. When you undergo just everyday life, you get trash in your system, right? But when you're a chemotherapy patient, it's a lot of trash. So it's important that you exercise. It reduces insulin levels. We live in a culture where type 2 diabetes is skyrocketing, and exercise helps with that. It causes you to sweat and remove toxins. That's important. She goes on to say it reduces estrogen-producing body fat. It reduces and helps you to manage stress. It reduces blood clots. It relieves depression and insomnia. Sometimes the cure is as close as your pillow. And it reduces inflammation and risk of developing cancer. And inflammation that's long-term can eventually lead to cancer. Dr. Keneally said this. I thought this was profound. For every 30 minutes of exercise, you neutralize 12 hours of accumulated stress in your body. So when your husband or your spouse says, I just got to go out and run for 45 minutes, say, please do, because it's only to their benefit. So we'll take the advice of Sergeant Carter from the Gomer Pyle series. You know what he said. Gomer, move it, move it, move it, right? And that's what we need to do during the day, because when we move, our bodies turn on thousands of genes that actually can change our gene expressions in many positive ways. Last year in May, the biggest research project that rocked the cancer world came out in Australia, the Clinical Oncological Society of Australia. 30 entities came together to put their research together and to make a position paper. And this is that paper summed up in a nutshell. Exercise should be embedded as a part of standard treatment in cancer care and viewed as an adjunct therapy to counteract the adverse effects of cancer and its treatments. The interesting thing is, instinctively, I used exercise in every part of my journey, and it was my doctors who said to me, Ginny, you're writing your book, look at this study. You did this before the study came out. This study now proves that what you did by instinct is the right thing to do. I had no idea. I was technically doing it to relieve stress, to be perfectly honest. When I had my first and second surgery, I got back to my room and I looked at that nurse and I said, what do I have to do to get rid of this catheter? My husband calls it a terrorist. And he said, if you can get up at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning and make 4 rounds of this hospital floor, I'll take it out. I said, okay, you're on. Be back at 6 a.m. I was ready to go. Now, I got to be honest with you, it wasn't easy because I had to get up out of the bed. I had tubes and medical machines and devices connected to my body, and they were all attached to one pole, and I had to carefully pull that pole behind me. Now, don't say this wrong. I pole walked. I was not pole dancing around the hospital floor. And I did 4 rounds, and I looked at that nurse, and I said, it feels good to move. I said, how many to a mile? He said, I don't think you can do that. 18. I said, don't say can't. While I'm continuing to walk with Alton behind me, making sure that, on the pole and everything's going okay, he went and called my surgeon and said, Miss Brandt's taken off and she's not stopping, and should I stop her, and what do I do? We don't have people do this after surgery. And you know what my surgeon said? Let her go. If she's got the balance and the energy, it will only promote healing. Well, my doctor came by to see me after I hit mile 2. And the nurses were cheering like I was a race car driver. I finished the finish line and went back to my room. And then my doctor shows up and she goes, I've never done this before. I'm letting you go a day early. And all those tubes we prepared your husband he would have to tend to for weeks? I'm pulling them all today because your body has already taken care of it. I mean, every part of my journey, I used exercise, and it made a difference. When you get to chemotherapy, I walked 2 to 3 miles before and 2 to 3 miles afterwards, only to find out later, again, I was doing it to relieve stress, okay? Only to find out that the COSA study now shows that helps the chemo to target and get to every cell, and it helps to clean out the trash afterwards. And again, a lot of trash after chemo. So exercise is key. I'm using it now. I've still got 1.5 years left of chemotherapy by mouth, which kills your bone density. So I'm having to do 3 different forms of exercise to hold my bone density so that I won't lose it, so I can finish taking that wonderful pill that everyone talks about. Dr. Prue Cormie of the COSA study said this: if the effects of exercise could be encapsulated in a pill, it would be prescribed to every cancer patient worldwide and viewed as a major breakthrough in cancer treatment. For you, it would be major prevention. We need to take out the trash every day in our bodies. Now, the first 3 I've given you don't cost a penny, do they? It's just a matter of discipline and carrying it out. But this 4th one, I'll be honest with you, your budget's going to go up some, okay? When you really use food as medicine, and thank you, who decorated these tables? Unbelievable. Let me tell you, this is food as medicine right here on your table. I'm seeing herbs and ginger and all these different things. This can help prevent cancer in and of itself, but I have to be honest with you. You're saying, oh, she's so good to do all these things right. No, really? No. When I was in high school, if I was ever given a crown, it should have been as the junk food queen. I mean, I was the world's worst for grabbing everything junk food. I loved every bit of it. I thrived off of it. It was my morning, noon, and night, and snacks in between, until I realized my body couldn't handle it. And it's been one lesson in the School of Hard Knocks after one lesson in the School of Hard Knocks, and then the worst lesson was my cancer journey. So I didn't get here because I'm a goody two-shoes. I got here by God getting whopped upside the head so many times, I had to change. Research shows that the average American eats too many fats and sweets. I know, I was one of them. Eats too much protein and meat. Protein is the backbone of the immune system. We do need enough, but we need a variety of protein from a variety of sources, and not everything should be hard to digest, and we don't need to overdo it. And we do not eat enough of fresh fruits and vegetables that God has provided in nature with self-healing chemicals in them. And now science can prove all the different chemicals and what they can do for your body. We tend to eat foods that are high in calories but low in nutrients. I loved all these foods. Donuts. I couldn't pass a donut shop. My goal in life when I was a child was to work in the donut shop down the street. That would have never worked. The USDA changed the food groups a few years back because of the rise of chronic disease. And if you remember, breads and cereals used to be on the bottom. Now half of your servings of your food groups, half should come from fruits and vegetables. And at the top, fat should be healthy fats, and they should be in moderation. And sugar, of course, is a treat, an occasional treat. It's not something that we should thrive off of like I used to do back in my high school days. Let's look at why fruits and vegetables are so important. Let me show you this first. What we've done in America, we have inverted the food pyramid. We have definitely inverted it. And what we've done is junk food has become the base of our diet, and the fruits and vegetables that have all these self-healing chemicals, the average American gets 2 to 3, and they think French fries is a healthy vegetable. Not, okay? Let's look at why fruits and vegetables are so important. These self-healing chemicals are called phytochemicals and antioxidants. And the phytochemicals are the colors in those fruits and vegetables. The deeper the color, the more nutrients they have. They help prevent cancer and disease. And the antioxidants are also found. They have a lot of technical names. All these things do. But these antioxidants, Ken preached a sermon. I think it was in January. He talked about toxins in the air, toxins in our food, toxins all around us. When you eat fruits and vegetables, they help to neutralize some of those toxins that are getting into our system. Of course, they contain fiber and vitamins and minerals that help our body to function properly. I'm going to quote Dr. Ayesha Sherzai. She's a neurologist, but this one sentence in my research I have probably found over 50 times by cardiac doctors, cardiologists, cancer doctors, diabetes doctors. She said, if you eat a whole food, plant-based diet, it reduces your risk for pretty much everything. Wow. And this is what Daniel ate. If you look back at what he ate fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and asked for what? Water, instead of the king's food and wine and all that stuff, right? And who fared better? Daniel did. So I told you I went on a quest. Part of it was to find out why I got cancer. It took 2 years. But I finally started to connect the dots, and when my doctors saw the results I brought to them, they said, whoa, this is alarming. There were 15 chemicals, toxic metals found at high levels in my body. Half of them were endocrine disruptors. 2,4-D, the Agent Orange pesticide, was found at high levels in my body, and I did not serve in Vietnam. Okay? You can get that in America from the food and water supply, unfortunately, in some people. Glyphosate was found at high levels in my body. They're both hormone disruptors. If you look at everything found in my body, the doctor said, bingo, this is it. This is definitely a major cause. It's never one thing that usually causes cancer. It's several chemicals, several issues. Unless you were at Chernobyl when it blew, you know, they can say radiation caused my cancer, okay? Most cancer patients can't say that. They can only say it was this combined with this that I know of. But because of what was found in my body, Alton and I now eat organic as much as possible, but we do it in a reasonable way. I've given you in your handout a list. This is by the USDA. They don't put out the list, but they do the research. And the dirty dozen are the 12 fruits and vegetables that keep the most pesticide residue in them. So when you're eating these are best to get from local farmers where you can question and say, what do you use on your crops? And some of them don't use as much as the big farms, okay? And then there's the clean 15. Those are the ones that just for some reason, because of their shell or just whatever reason, they don't have as much of a pesticide residue. So you can eat those and they don't have to be organic. Folks, there are foods that promote cancer. I've clearly learned that. The highly processed chemicals, additives, preservatives, high sugar, high in calories, low in nutrients. And then there are foods that prevent cancer. And there's a lot of research on this. And if you follow my blog, we've been through 12, 13 superfoods with all the things in them and all the things they have the possibility to prevent. But Dr. William Lee of Harvard University has his own, he's a medical doctor, but he has his own foundation that tests the foods. He's doing his own research, the foods that are best at preventing cancer, and cruciferous vegetables are at the top. The broccoli, the sprouts, the kale, the stuff that I like broccoli, but I wouldn't always eat every day, but I put in my smoothie some of these things and hide them with chocolate, if that makes any sense. And chocolate, by the way, is a superfood. I had 2 blogs on that. Berries are also high up there. Blueberries kills 5 birds with 1 stone. Heart disease, dementia, diabetes, cancer. I mean, blueberries are just unbelievable. Onions, garlics, herbs. I see ginger over there. I see it everywhere. I now cook with these things fresh. I used to not even use them, to be perfectly honest. Well, why would I want to put ginger and garlic in my food? Well, now it's like, get the real thing and load it up because they have cancer prevention qualities. I have included in your handout a recipe that gives you a whole meal in one salad, and it's got your nuts as your protein. It's clean, and it's full of nutrients. So I put that in there just so you can see it can be done, and I think it's quite tasty. Of course, Alton says, there's many changes at our house, and he keeps saying, where's the meat? And we do get meat, but we don't get it 3 times a day anymore. Does that make sense? According to I know, sorry, hon, you're along for the ride. You got to run the race with me, so. According to the Surgeon General back in 2001, he said, diseases of dietary excess and imbalance are among the leading causes of death in the United States, and they're related to lifestyle and a lack of common sense. Sometimes we think because we're Christians, we're exempt from taking care of our bodies, when what Donnie said today is true. The Bible tells us we are to take care of our temple. The American Cancer Society used to say that cancer was mainly caused by genetics and things beyond your control, and now they're singing a whole different song and dance, saying at least 80% of cancer can be prevented through positive lifestyle behaviors, and they wouldn't disagree with the 4 steps that I gave you today. So what am I doing now? I'm running the race. Thank you, Donnie. I'm running the race. I'm going for the 120 as given to Moses. Moses lived to 120 years. He really didn't have any ailments. God just took him. I'd like that part too, just to take me, if you know what I'm saying. I would prefer that than dying of cancer. And I am writing a cancer prevention blog. There's information on there, the website you can go to and sign up. And about every Tuesday or Wednesday, I place a new blog on there. So how many of you are glad so far and have gotten information that's helped to lift some of the fog this morning from your eyes? Anyone? I wish I had known this before I got cancer. So I want to watch my time, but I want to open it up to a few questions. Anyone have a question? Yes?
You talked about melatonin and sleeping. What is your research shown about supplements of melatonin, or does it need to be produced?
It's best that it be your own body if you can make that happen. But in the cancer journey, they were giving me so many chemicals and things that, I got 4 toxic bags and 5 bags before that of all these things that kept your body up, all these chemicals that had all these reactions in your body, and there was no way I was going to sleep. So they put me on melatonin as a supplement, and then they took me off at a certain point now and said, now let your own body take care of it. So the supplement's good, your own body is the best. And if it's not working, then use the supplement until you can get it there, is what I would say. Anyone else? Yeah, I'm big on that now. I wrote I think it was a 3-part blog on plastics. And then I haven't posted this blog, but Columbia has a problem with their water supply. They're finding microplastics in the water supply. But the point is, I no longer drink out of plastics and plastic bottles. And ladies, for your reference, and men, because men get breast cancer, and it's estrogen fed, so what does that tell you? It's coming from the outside in men, for sure. In women, it's a combination of the two with the estrogen accumulation, but all the plastic bottles contain BPA or something similar, and when you drink out of them, you're getting that in your system. So I carry my mugs with me that are steel or glass with plastic on the outside because I have the oops problem, and I drop and break things. And so I would use glass and steel and paper cups as much as possible, and I have to give Chick-fil-A and Starbucks, they have the cups with the paper. You had paper cups today. And when you drink out of styrofoam, you're getting that styrene in your system, especially when the drink is hot. So I'm having to look at everything, how I pump my gas. I used to breathe and go, doesn't that smell good? I don't do that anymore. I let Alton pump the gas. I think about everything now. And at a point, you have to look at what can I do that is reasonable, and then the rest you just have to say, certain things I can't control. Some things that happened to me were not my bad. Some things were my bad. I change what I can, and then I have to look the other way at some of the other things and not go, a toxin, a toxin. You can't live that way either. So you have to come to a happy medium, okay? Mm-hmm.
You were talking about having levels in your system that were high. What does it mean if you have a high level of zinc? Where are you getting that from?
You're not taking a zinc supplement? I guess it's coming from water supply. She has high levels of zinc. Zinc is...
They told me, your zinc's really high. And I went, well, how did I get that?
Yeah. I would guess maybe food, maybe water supply. I couldn't figure out where it was coming in, and then found out that it's coming the water supply, everything in the environment gets washed into the water table, and the water company cannot get everything out. They chlorinate it so the bacteria is not in it when it comes to your home, but I recommend you take it out before you drink it through filtration. And the best filtration, the better. If I could recommend one thing, one of 3 chapters in my book are on reducing your toxins, and one of the best ways is to reduce it in foods, but a water filtration system in your home. I think a lot of mine was coming through food and water, so I've had to alter both.
And are those little pitchers okay? The little pitchers they give you, the Brita?
Yeah, they're okay. They don't get everything, but it's better than not doing anything, okay? Reverse osmosis is the best. Actually, spring water from a clear, pure mountain is the best. But Linda, I had you, yeah.
We know that the wheat is now sprayed with glyphosate.
And harvested several times with glyphosate.
Okay, we eat Cheerios a lot. Okay, what's the question?
Okay, sorry. The question is about wheat and being sprayed with glyphosate. One of the things I learned in my journey is I don't eat the normal wheat anymore. I mean, it is loaded with glyphosate. And can I say this too? My husband's body was tested. We are 2 pigs eating out of the same trough with in the same pig pen. He did not have the same chemicals accumulated that I did. He didn't have glyphosate. But I did. He had some things I didn't have, and he didn't have as many as I had. But the point is, what accumulates in one person's body and what accumulates in another is probably a genetic tendency. What your body, you have 5 filtering systems in your body to help get those things out. It's when we overload the body that there's an issue. I no longer eat the traditional wheat. I get my flour at Hofstetler's. I go gluten-free only because I know that our wheat here has so much glyphosate. If I go to Europe or somewhere else where it's not, I'll eat their wheat. It was a gift of God in the day. So it's what we're doing to it here that's causing the issue. All right. Yeah. Yes. Nope.
Thank you, Ginny. Let's give her a hand. Wasn't that great?